If you're feeling stuck or like you need to make a change, it might actually be stemming from yourself. And so you're going to want to listen up to this episode where I talk about how to break free from the chains of your old self. And today, I'm going to be kind of going to the next step from the latest episode where I talk about why you'd want to kill off your alter ego like Eminem killed off Slim Shady. And this episode, I'm going to go into the practical steps of how to break free from those chains. So I'm going to go through a little bit of like some steps that you can take, some actions that you can take. This is something that I would encourage you to do with someone else. And so if you want to make that next step, reach out to me, Diane at DianeRolston.com. Let's talk about how I can actually bring you through this into a more powerful version of you. So here we go. Basically, I asked you last time to recognize the parts of you over the last week of yourself as you go through the world. Recognize the parts you think you need to leave behind and recognize yourself and the parts that need to be moved forward. And so if you haven't listened to that episode, I encourage you to go and do that. There's actually two before this that are kind of part of this sequence, a series that I'm doing. And the next episodes, this one's around breaking free from the chains of your old self. And the next one is going to be about really stepping fully in who you're meant to be. So it's important, you really should go through the process of these, but it's important that with all of this, you practice some self-reflection. We're going to have to set some boundaries. We're going to have to adopt some new habits. So this is not just a feel good, let's listen. I really hope this provokes you, pushes you, inspires you, motivates you to make a change. Because if you don't, and you are in that alter ego, that old version of you, or you just haven't allowed yourself, given yourself permission to fully step into who you're meant to be, you're going to feel that lack of authentic connection with others. You're not going to enjoy life fully. You're not going to have as much fun. You're not going to feel fulfilled. Things are going to feel off in some way or another, and you might not even know why. And if you listen to the past episodes, you'll hear how I was feeling off, but I have always been really good at just still continuing on, still pushing forward. But if you're trying to stay in that old version when really there's a new version presenting itself, you could step into that place of cocooning, isolating away from others. Maybe you're not returning a friend's text or calls. Maybe you don't feel like hanging out with people socially or going to public events or even doing the work you are feeling like you're meant to do, which is kind of weird, right? Because you're like, this business or this career or this volunteerism or these other roles I play are really important to me and they're priorities to me, but I'm just not living them fully as I know I can. And so let's go through these steps, these things. They're things that I'm doing. They're things that I encourage my clients to do when they're feeling a little bit stuck in the old self. So let's cut that old self loose, shall we? First, we need to identify the alter ego. So as I spoke in the last episode, Eminem had this very public alter ego of Slim Shady, and you probably don't have a full-on alter ego that you've named and you know exactly how they are. So instead, just be thinking about, in some self-reflection, what are the aspects of myself that no longer really serve my current goals, my current values? And so are you stepping into more of a boss-like, authoritative position when really you're like, that's not who I am? So it could be outdated beliefs that you have, could be habits that you've fallen into, or habits that served you before but aren't serving you now. Maybe it's behaviors that once were useful to you but now are holding you back. So look at those, write them down, because those are the things, the pieces that make up that alter ego, that other version of you. And we want to move forward and move away from that. I definitely know that there's some bad habits that I've gotten into that I want to let go of, like staying up later, like doom scrolling. I don't know who else is with me on that, but there's some things that I know that's just, those things aren't present in the version, my higher self version. We have to acknowledge the role that that part of us has played, right? So understanding the role of the alter ego or that old version and asking yourself, what made me use that? Or how was I using that as a coping mechanism, maybe during difficult times? You know, when my father passed away, now it's almost 4 years, which is actually it's 4 years today. That's crazy that that came up right now. Um, but there were a lot of bad habits, a lot of things I was doing at that time that were coping mechanisms, like eating comfort food, watching TV. I found it very, very hard in grief to even understand emails and reply, but I could coach really well. And so I understood that at that time I was a certain way because it was coping mechanisms for the grief that I was in. But maybe you've had other coping mechanisms because you've had other tragedies, you had a position change, you had to move, some other difficult times, and that was how you navigated that certain life stage. It could even have been a positive thing like a promotion or getting a certain project or winning a proposal that you put in and really having to step into that, but that's not the real version of you. So maybe you've stepped into a fake confidence or an over ego, and instead you want to really be real and authentic, and that's not who you are. You want more of an internal confidence than this external, maybe loud in your face place. So that's the first piece, is really to just identify the alter ego. Then the next piece is recognizing the need for change, right? So if we look at those habits, those behaviors in that self-reflection, then we're going to understand, well, what's the impact of those things? So if the old version of me was doom scrolling, staying up late, being in an over external confident place or authoritative place, how is that limiting my potential moving forward? So it's pretty obvious to know staying up late really ruins you the next day, ruins your energy. So it's creating some conflict with your current self. I've joked before that night Diane often will screw over morning Diane. And the thing is, night Diane gets up to no good. She's maybe watching TV, scrolling her phone, eating snacks, having a drink, and not getting the sleep. But the morning Diane wants to do things like spend time in my Bible or with my devotion and journaling and meditating and exercising and eating a good breakfast. But night Diane will screw that over. And so that's definitely not a piece that I want to keep as it is. That's the part that I need to change. And so what do you want to change? So reflecting on these ways of the things you're doing, if you continue to stay in that, it's going to really stop you from fully embracing who you want to become or who you feel you are. And so noticing those, okay, it's like the 5 stages of change. Knowing that you have the problem is in that first stage. And so, okay, I need to make the change. That's all you need to do at this stage. Just, I need to make the change. Great. Let's go to the third one. You need to confront the internal conflicts. So you might have some fears, you might have some doubts. Letting go of that old identity can bring up fears of the unknown, doubts of, can I make this change? So I know that I'm stepping into something even bigger than I'm already doing. And when I look at the evolution of me and my business, I have done so many crazy, amazing, successful things over the years. And if you told me I would do all these things at the start, whew, I would have been fully freaked out and would have not believed that I could step into that. And it's funny because I was working with a client the other day, very successful in her career, yet has stepped into entrepreneurship and coaching. And so there's a lot of things that I can impart knowledge-wise on her, that the lessons that I have learned. And I go, oh yeah, you'll just say this and you'll just do this. And then in this moment, you would do this. And in this situation, you can do this and say this. And she was like, wow, like you really break this down to be so easy to sound, so that I can make kind of like cut time off and have a shortcut and not make the same mistakes you did. And the thing is, you will make mistakes because it's new. And so just accept that, right? the fear will be there and the doubt will be there because you maybe haven't done it before. But the cool thing is you can bring forward your confidence in other areas. Now I'm going to pause that piece there because that's going to come in the next episode when I talk more about stepping into fully who you're meant to be. But it's important that you acknowledge and you write down and you journal about, you get coaching on what are the fears? What are the doubts? I am stepping into a time where I'm going to be doing more comedy. I'm putting together a one-woman show. And that is, yes, pulling forward skills that I already have and experience. I already have knowledge, and I know I can do it. However, it is something different and it's being seen on an even bigger level. So I need to know what are those internal conflicts. And then it's important that we face these emotions head on, that we understand they're just part of growth, very natural part of growth. And being in that growth mindset is crucial at this time. Next, we need to let go of any limiting beliefs and behaviors. So they might come up from our fears. So what am I afraid of? What am I doubting? What am I unsure about? When we get those answers, those really become our limiting beliefs and our limiting behaviors. So at this point, you're going to want to practice some self-compassion. Be kind to yourself, right? This is a hard time and this is going to be uncomfortable. And so give yourself some grace. Be kind to yourself. Letting go of that old identity. It can be difficult. It can be emotional, especially if that old version of you really served you. And so over the years, I've had I more so feel like I've just evolved naturally and evolved. But I feel like right now I'm in this birthing of this like crazy big version of me, and and letting go of the old versions of me that have been successful and that I know. And I still know me, but this is like I'm taking up more space in the world. And so it's important for me that I've hired someone to continuously like bring me through this journey and to help me to navigate this change. Because if you are in this space, you might end up judging yourself too hard, putting too much pressure on yourself. And so you need someone that's understanding and will move you forward so you don't get kind of into this downward spiral. Then the fifth one is to embrace the transformation. Embrace it. Knowing not just that you're going to be kind of killing off, cutting ties with this old self, but we want to start getting into affirming this new identity, right? So this is going to come a little bit more into the next episode, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about this because we need to tell ourselves this is good. The new identity is good. So it helps us to cut ties with the old, right? So we have to reinforce that this new self of us is affirming the changes. So this new self is really good and we need to cut ties with the old self. So we can do this. We can talk about this new identity being a good thing for us by journaling, affirmations, or just simply acknowledging your progress regularly. And this is where having someone else to witness you through it is important. So again, if you want to do that with me, email me diane@dianerolston.com and we will have a conversation. The sixth one is to challenge societal's expectations. That one you might not even see as an issue, and it might be the like elephant in the room. Oftentimes our alter ego, the old version of us, is reinforced by societal norms, how they think it should be, their expectations of us. I can remember working with a client, and we were talking about designing your life, the ideal life, however you want it to be. And what she realized is she actually wanted to have less in her life. And so she wanted to let go of this big, powerful job that she had to be at home with her kids. And she didn't want to, have other people taking care of them, nannies or families. Where she wanted to be the one there making the grilled cheese sandwiches and making the art with them and going for walks and playing and such. And so she said to me, well, it looks like I'm taking a step back. This is not like me making these big goals, these big, hairy, audacious goals. My big, hairy, audacious goal is to actually quit my job and be at home with my kids full time. Now, thankfully, she could do that financially because of what her husband was bringing in and just where they have secured themselves. But that was really hard. She was definitely challenging societal expectations by not only like people outside, but her family, right? Really, you want to give up that good job. It's perfect for you. You have this lifestyle. There was probably a conversation with her husband around this. And so we have to challenge these by questioning what truly aligns with my authentic self. I'll say that again. We need to challenge these by questioning what truly aligns with my authentic self. What truly aligned with her was, I want to be at home with my kids. I really want to be an amazing mom. I don't want to have the pressure of going to this job. I want to be with my kids. And that's what she really wanted. But in other people's eyes, it was her taking a step back in her success. So we might have to change how we've been conditioned in life and the things we've been conditioned to believe. It's going to be hard, but it's so worth it. Because you know what's worse is living in this place that's not in alignment. So true. So true. Living in a place that's not in alignment, being who you're not meant to be, is harder than facing challenging societal expectations. I'll tell you that 100 and like million%. And then the last one is you need to celebrate and reinforce the change. So mark the transition. Celebrate the process of letting go. Maybe you tell some people close to you that you're looking to create this new version. You're going to let go of some things. And it might sound kind of weird, but you might be like, I'm saying no to staying up late. I'm saying no to doom scrolling now. I'm saying no to drinking. I'm saying no to being negative. I'm saying no to being bossy. Whatever it is, you might tell others around you and celebrate that. So you could mark this occasion by maybe writing a letter to your old self, thanking them for what they've done for you, and then discarding it. Maybe you burn it in a fire. You might write something on a rock, throw it in the water as like a way of releasing that old self. Have a little ritual, a little ceremony of really killing off the old self, cutting ties. And then we can get into the next episode about creating a new ritual that honors the new identity. Doesn't that sound fun? So of these 7 steps, you're going to do them all? I really hope you do. If you want to work with me, we can work through the steps. I can probably get you through a lot faster than if you do it yourself. I'll tell you that right now. And you'd feel supported and championed and cheerleaded and kind of like carried along in this change, because it can be hard and it can be scary. But when you have someone in your corner, it's easier to face the battle when you know someone is right there ready to support you. So stay tuned for the next episode where I will go into, I'm going to check the name of it, stepping into who you're meant to be. So I'm going to talk about in the next episode. And there's going to be some, more of these kind of topics, because I feel like these are really important for kind of what I'm seeing in the world right now, seeing in my clients, seeing in female leaders, entrepreneurs, successful women, A-type, whatever you want to call them. I'm seeing a lot of this right now. And I don't want you to struggle. I don't want you to not be feeling good about who you are and where you are. And if you're like, but I feel good about where I am, maybe it's just about fine-tuning and going into this next version stronger. Okay, we'll wrap it up there. If you haven't yet, subscribe, share this with a friend, and write us a review. When you do, take a screenshot of it and email it to team@dianerolston.com with your mailing address so we can send you a little something special in the mail. Until next time, stay dynamic. Bye.